information from South Wales Police shortly. Stay with us for that. Now, the nurse accused of murdering 7 babies and attempting to murder 10 others. Providing an update on what happened in Ely, South Wales on Monday. There was a brief statement from police yesterday about the deaths of 2 teenagers, Kyrie Sullivan and Harvey Evans. The teens killed in a bike crash in Ely. Their deaths sparked riots on the streets, on residential streets in the area. The police force last night referred itself to the police watchdog. The Independent Office for Police Conduct has since agreed to independently investigate the incident. This was after CCTV footage emerged of a police van following the bike in the minutes before the crash. We have had tributes from the families of the two Cardiff teenagers today, saying they were best friends and went everywhere together. Let's bring in Dan Whitehead, who is there in South Wales for us at this news conference. So we did hear from South Wales Police last night, Dan. What more detail are we likely to get today? What are they going to be focusing on, do you think?
Well, I think the two key updates which we've had today, Sarah Jane, are, of course, that the fact that the police watchdog now has said that they are independently investigating the incident in Ely on Monday night. That, of course, now is an active investigation. It follows the release of that CCTV last night showing what appeared to be a police van chasing the bike just a few moments, just over 3 minutes before that fatal collision. That will form a significant part, perhaps, of the press conference. And, of course, in the last half an hour or so, we've also had tributes from the family members of Harvey Evans, who was, of course, 15, and Kyrie's Sullivan, who both lost their lives. Harvey's family saying that their hearts are truly broken by the sudden death of Harvey, our much-loved son, grandson, brother, nephew, friend and boyfriend. The families as well in their statements calling for calm in the community and to allow the police to carry out their investigation. Of course, that fatal crash then triggered riots in Ely that went on throughout the night on Monday night. Around 150 people taking part in that violence, which saw fireworks and broken paving slabs being thrown at police, a number of officers injured in that disturbance. And there was certainly a feeling of anger on that night and certainly the next day towards police and perhaps how the family members were dealt with following that tragedy. We heard in a statement from David Ford, who's the director of the IOPC, the police watchdog, in relation to that independent investigation that's been launched. That, of course, follows South Wales Police referring itself to them. He said that, of course, the IOP's thoughts and sympathies go out to the family, but it's important that they independently investigate the circumstances leading up to this tragic event. They say their decision to investigate follows their attendance to the police post-incident procedure and a review of information, specifically any interaction between police and the boys seen in that CCTV footage. Now, today Sky News has obtained two new pieces of CCTV footage which show the assumed chase continuing a few seconds later, where we see those two young boys on that electric bike, followed by that police van. The questions, of course, surround just how long, if that is the case, that chase took place. Police have been keen to stress in their statement last night that no police vehicles were on the road in question where the fatal accident occurred. So that will form part of the IOPC's and, of course, South Wales Police's investigation as to whether or not they had pulled away or stopped in that pursuit and how long exactly it went on for. I think we are now about to hear from Rachel Bacon, the Deputy Chief Constable, so we'll listen in, I think, in the next couple of minutes to what she has to say, and we are being told she will take questions as well. In terms of on the ground at the crash site today, we've had family and friends attend the crash site where there is now understandably a large selection of tributes and flowers and balloons being laid, and that continues to grow what is a very difficult time for the community. We understand on Friday night a vigil and balloon release will take place, and of course, first and foremost, an incredibly difficult time for the families of those loved ones. Let's listen now to Deputy Chief Constable Rachel Bacon.
Good afternoon. I am Deputy Chief Constable Rachel Bacon of South Wales Police. On Monday evening, a serious road traffic collision happened in Snowdon Road, Ely, which tragically claimed the lives of Kyrie Sullivan and Harvey Evans, two friends who live in the community of Ely. Our thoughts are with the families and friends of Kyrie and Harvey and everyone affected by this terrible incident. We can only begin to imagine the grief they are experiencing at this time. Their families continue to be supported and updated by family liaison officers. I am aware of concerns in the local community regarding the timeline of events which culminated in the fatal collision, including CCTV footage which shows a police vehicle following a bike in Frank Road. Therefore, I want to confirm the timeline of events which took place as we know them at this time. We would have liked to provided this level of information yesterday, but this is a complex investigation and we had to be sure of the facts before confirming them. We have been busy obtaining witness accounts, analysing tracking data from police vehicles and studying CCTV, and this is what we know now. 17:59:40. CCTV shows the bike travelling towards the police vehicle in Frank Road. The bike then turns around. 18:00:52. The bike is followed by the police vehicle, which you have already seen on CCTV images. Neither blue lights or sirens were in use. 18:01:18. Police vehicle is at New Ely Church roundabout and travels through Archer Road, Stanway Road and Howell Road. 18:02:31. Police vehicle turns onto Grand Avenue. 18:02:18 to 18:02:41. This is the approximate time of the road traffic collision on Snowdon Road. At the time of the collision, the police vehicle is in Grand Avenue, half a mile away from Snowdon Road. 18:06:59, the police vehicle is on Cowbridge Road West when it receives information about a road traffic collision. Officers illuminate blue lights and make their way to the collision scene. There was no police vehicle in Snowdon Road at the time of the collision, and we believe there were no other vehicles involved in the incident. We have based this on witness accounts, tracking data and CCTV. We have made a mandatory referral to the Independent Office for Police Conduct to ensure the matter receives independent scrutiny. We will provide them with all the information we have and they will undertake an independent investigation. I will now turn to the violence and disorder which happened in Ely on Monday night. Nothing can excuse this. Property was damaged and people were scared in their own homes. Our focus now is to fully cooperate with the IOPC investigation into the circumstances of the collision and to investigate the appalling scenes that followed. We are appealing for witnesses, information and footage from mobile phones and social media. We have already recovered around 180 pieces of body-worn video footage from police officers at the scene, and this number is expected to grow. Officers are also going through hundreds of hours of public CCTV and videos posted on social media. Anyone aware who has footage of Monday's events can upload it to our link on our website. We are extremely grateful for the support of the community so far and urge anyone with any information to come forward to us. I will now take questions.
Can you just confirm what this assumed chase was about? Why were you following the two bodies on the bike? And what was the last point at which the police were actively following it? Listening to your time codes there, if I got them correctly, it seems to be just a few seconds before the fatal collision. That, of course, contradicts what we initially thought, that there was no police chase. So what was the cause for the chase, and at what point did you stop chasing them?
I want to be as transparent and open as I can with the communities of Ely so that they understand what has happened. I've set out the timeline based on the factual information that we have. But the IOPC are conducting an independent investigation regarding whether any pursuit has taken place. So I can't fully answer your question today, and for that I apologise.
Why did you let the line that speculation about a chase were false rumours circulating in the community. Why did you let that persist for so long, well into Tuesday?
The situation yesterday morning was still very unclear. I've explained to you the huge amount of work that has had to be undertaken to get to the point where we are. I would have wanted to speak to our community sooner, and I haven't been able to because we haven't had that level of information.
You let the Police and Crime Commissioner go out to the media and say that these were false rumours.
The Commissioner was very clear in his interviews that the situation was uncertain, but that there was no police car following the e-bike at the time of the collision. As you know, Alan has a very close relationship with the communities of Ely, and he wanted to give as much information as he could as soon as possible.
Okay, but do you regret that initial messaging from the police force and the Commission?
All I can tell you is that we have done our best in the circumstances we face with the information we've had. We've been honest and direct. I'm here today to give you the information I have now. I've still got hundreds of hours of investigation that will need to take place. I know you're not going to get every answer you want today, but speaking to the communities of Ely, we are here to protect you. We absolutely understand that it was a terrible night, and we need to focus on bringing those offenders to justice.
The BBC has just seen footage in the last half an hour that is time coded from 1801. It's from Stanway Road. It shows two boys on their bike coming up from Archer Road following the police. Now this seems to contradict your timeline because it seems as though the only reason they couldn't get on to the road where the crash happened was there's bollards at the end. I've been really clear that I've given you factual and accurate information to the Would you let me finish? Thank you. Absolutely, to the best of my knowledge at this moment in time. I have told you that I have hundreds of hours of CCTV. I could have waited, could have not come here today to try and talk about what we know and the timeline as we understand it. But I'm here today to talk to the communities of Ely, to let them know that we absolutely understand their concerns, that we're listening to what you are saying to us on their behalf about their worries, about the accuracy of what we have said. What I have told you is accurate, but there is other information. I've been really clear that we have still got an awful lot of CCTV to view, and of course that will be much now by the IOPC as they have taken independent investigation, and I'm sure that they will keep you updated with their progress. You speak to a lot of people in Ely, and they've talked about their distrust in the police over the years, the process of events and the way the timeline has been handled. This has damaged your credibility, when you say, and it's fair to say that this has not held you good stead in the people of Ely.
We're absolutely passionate about protecting the people of Ely. We have a dedicated neighbourhood policing team. We want to reach out to them, we want to work with them. It didn't go as any of us would have wanted on the night of the incident. It is a tragic outcome that two young men have died, and we want to understand why. And the situation that occurred afterwards in terms of people's behaviour is totally unacceptable, and I absolutely know, as you do, that the people of Ely condemn that they don't want that to be happening in their neighbourhood, and neither do we, and we will work tirelessly with them to understand what we can do to support them going forward.
We're only going to take one more, excuse me, sorry, we're only going to take one more question. You've asked one already.
Have the officers been questioned
take your question.
under caution? The officers in the van, have they been questioned under caution?
No, they haven't.
Okay.
Are they suspended or are they still in work?
They're not. How would you define a chase as opposed to the following?
Thank you.
Deputy Chief Constable Rachel Bacon there conducting that news conference for South Wales Police, getting quite heated at the end there as journalists try to ask questions. But Rachel Bacon saying that she's coming there in good faith to try and provide some information to the community of Ely, who have suffered unimaginably over the last couple of days. She said concerning the community about the timeline of events that led to the crash that killed the two teens from Ely, led to her coming out to give what information she has at this time. And she spoke about the timeline that saw the bike approach the police van, the bike that was carrying both teenagers. It then turned around. And she also talked about that CCTV footage, which showed the police van following the boys on the bike around a minute later. However, the crucial bit of information she gave there was that at the time of the collision that killed the two boys, the police vehicle seen on CCTV was half a mile away. It then got a call that alerted the police officers inside that van to attend the scene. No police vehicle was on Snowdon Road, which was the road that the collision took place on. No police vehicle was on that road at the time of the collision. No other vehicle was involved in the collision that killed the two boys. She referenced the independent investigation that is now underway by the IOPC. She said they're cooperating on the circumstances surrounding the collision and the events that led to the disorder that followed that collision. She ended by appealing for witnesses and information. Sky's Dan Whitehead was in the room. And Dan, such is the level of anxiety in the community and the need for answers that it got quite heated at the end there. But the families of Harvey and Kyrese today have put out statements asking for peace to let the police get on with their business so that they can get the answers the families so desperately want.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they will be advised by family liaison officers from the police. South Wales Police clearly under a lot of pressure after the emergence of this CCTV footage to give answers and to give updates. They mentioned there, the Chief Constable, Deputy Chief Constable, that they're going through hundreds and hundreds of hours of CCTV. So on one hand, it was a relatively detailed chronology down to the second of where that police van was, which has become the focus now, more so, of course, than the actual rioting which took place, but exactly the involvement of the police and these two young boys. It was interesting to note that Rachel Bacon didn't admit that there was a chase and wouldn't go into the context of why it appeared that police van was going after the two boys, whether or not that was based on intelligence, any potential crime, not being drawn into those questions. And her remarks echoed what we heard yesterday from police, that there was no police vehicle, as you say, on the road, Snowdon Road, when that fatal collision happened. She talked about the journey going through Frank Road, through New Ely Church Roundabout, Archer Road, Stanway Road, Howell Road. Those are all roads that are very close to the crash site, really within half a mile. It's a very residential area. And just where the riots happened and just where the actual crash happened is the end of a road, a dead-end road with a lot of bollards. And a lot in the local community are saying, and we've spoken to eyewitnesses who believe that that bike stopped there. Police weren't able to get through. It's a dead end. And then about 200 metres further on, that is where the crash happened. Look, this is obviously a complex investigation, as she said, and it is going to take time. But Rachel Bacon was trying her best, I think, to try and reassure the community, which, as you say, is frustrated and has been frustrated, clearly in the immediate aftermath of what happened on Monday night with the riots that took place into the early hours. But we have spoken to countless people, not only family members, friends, who are frustrated with how police have dealt with this. No admission of regret. They did, interestingly, say that it didn't go the way that anyone would have wanted to. I think that was what I've written here, what Rachel Bacon said, in terms of obviously the situation on the night I think she was referring to, but also how things were handled yesterday. And a lot of evidence came out yesterday which changed the series of events. Still a lot of questions unanswered. Why were they being followed by police? Interestingly as well, something new, that they said that the boys on the bike were heading towards the van first of all, then turned around in an apparent moving away from the police, and that is when that apparent pursuit happened. So still lots of questions, and South Wales Police clearly still under significant pressure. They did take questions. There were plenty more who wanted to ask them. This, of course, comes on top of now an active IOPC investigation. So as is standard procedure, if there is or apparent police involvement in something serious like this, there is then, of course, a referral to the police watchdog. The the IOPC this afternoon accepted that they believe that they do need to carry out an independent investigation itself away from South Wales Police into exactly what unfolded and what happened here on Monday night. The IOPC saying that they will be examining any interaction between the police and the boys after that CCTV footage emerged. Were they on a call-out? Was it based on intelligence, or was it simply something that happened in the street? And of course, it's still not completely clear how long that pursuit happened and when did it end before that fatal collision occurred, which caused the deaths of Harvey and Kyrie's. We've had the statements, of course, as well, finally, from the two families today. Harvey's family saying that their hearts are truly broken by the sudden death of Harvey, describing him as a much-loved son, grandson, brother, nephew, friend and boyfriend. They say that he lived life to the full. And Kyrie's family saying that he was a loving, caring, handsome young man, a loving son to Belinda and Craig, and little brother to Aaliyah and Jordan. Let me just go through the statement as well, because you did mention there that I think it was Harvey's family. Here we go, Harvey's family saying that we ask for peace in the community and request that people leave the investigation to the police so we can get the answers we desperately need to lay Harvey to rest. As is often the case in tragic situations like this, there are plenty of rumours and falsehoods swirling around on social media. There is no doubt that that makes things more difficult for the families. It makes things more difficult for the police in terms of their investigation. It, of course, helps to expose things like the CCTV, because we've got to revert back to yesterday morning's interview from the South Wales Police and Crime Commissioner, who denied there was any police chase. And then, of course, this footage emerged clearly showing some form of involvement between the police and the bike. And Sky News has obtained a couple of new bits of CCTV from houses further down than that video that we had last night showing those events. We now have a bit more chronology in terms of which roads the police van went down. So for the families, still big questions. It is clearly going to take a significant amount of time for South Wales Police and the IOPC to get to the bottom of what level of involvement the police had and whether or not there was any relation to the deaths of the two boys. Those are the big questions which Harvey's family say they desperately need in order to lay him to rest.
OK, Dan.
At the top of this, of course, there is incredibly upsetting scenes for the family.
Yeah, indeed. Dan, thank you very much. So some more information from South Wales Police this afternoon. They've come out and given some more detail on the timeline of events that led to that fatal collision that killed the two teenage boys you see on your screen there, Harvey Evans on the left, Kyrese Evans on the right. Deputy Chief Constable Rachel Bacon saying concerning the community about the timeline is what has led her to come out today to give a bit more detail, but still a lot of questions unanswered. Rachel Bacon, the Deputy Chief Constable, did leave the press conference with questions still being asked. Here's a little snippet of that.
We're absolutely passionate at protecting the people of Ely. We have a dedicated neighbourhood policing team. We want to reach out to them. We want to work with them. It didn't go as any of us would have wanted on the night of the incident. It is a tragic outcome that two young men have died, and we want to understand why, and the situation that occurred afterwards in terms of people's behaviour is totally unacceptable. And I absolutely know, as you do, that the people of Ely condemn that they don't want that to be happening in their neighbourhood, and neither do we, and we will work tirelessly with them to understand what we can do to support them going forward.
We're only going to take one more, excuse me, sorry, we're only going to take one more question. You've asked one.
Have the officers been questioned
take your question.
under caution? The officers in the van, have they been questioned under caution?
No, they haven't.
Okay.
Are they suspended or still in work?
Is there anything to suggest a crime had been committed that warranted chase?
So there you have it. The police officers involved in the, well, it hasn't been called a chase, but they were following the bikes that the boys were on, have not been interviewed under caution. That was the last question Deputy Chief Constable Rachel Bacon answered. Dan, just give us an idea of where this goes now.
Well, it's obviously a complex investigation. That was the words that Rachel Bacon used. They talked about 180 pieces of body-worn camera, hundreds of hours of CCTV. It is clearly going to take time as those investigations continue, not only into the fatalities of those two young boys, but also the riots which took place throughout the night, which they have described as totally unacceptable. And I think for the community and the families who have called now for the police to be able to get on with that investigation, the police will be hoping, and police sources have told me they were relieved that there was no violence last night on the second night, that they can continue that work and that investigation without any violence in the community. I think for the community itself, perhaps a focus on Friday to allow the family members and friends to remember those two people who died in that vigil.
Dan Whitehead in Bridgend, South Wales for us. Thank you. Coming up next here on Sky News, it's the News Hour with